Welcome to the Fitness Oracle, where we have real conversations with real people just like you, with real stories just like yours, and this is one of their stories. I am your host, John Katsavos. My guest today is Martin Upton from Anorexic Healer Project. He has an online support which provides information for those with anorexia nervosa and their families to help better and understand the condition. Martin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. Yes, really excited about this, actually. Thank you for inviting me on.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you have a very interesting topic that we need to actually bring to the forefront for a lot of people out there. You recently had an interview with Jacob Ark. He is also one of my guests. So what did you think about your interview with him?
Jacob has so much knowledge in every area of healing. And so the reason why I reached out to Jacob was because with the anorexic condition, it does affect the internals. It affects the intestines, and the intestines are meant to be the second brain in the body. And I just remember a discussion I had with Jacob last year regarding how important it is to maintain a healthy gut. And I was interested to take his opinion on it, and really enjoyed it. Normally my discussions should take around about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, but with Jacob it took about an hour and a half. So it was very informative, and he's very patient, he's very knowledgeable. Yeah, Jacob is fantastic.
He really is a good guy, all around a good guy. What got you what got you first started in the field of anorexia support?
Right, so it's a tough one. I pause every now and again because it's affected me deeply. So in 2006, I moved to Sweden. In 2008, I bought a house in Sweden. And in 2008, that same year, I got married to a Swedish lady. And then in that same year, she tried to kill herself. And I didn't understand what it was about. So I'm not looking into the camera because it's quite painful for me to remember. And so after she did the psychotherapy, it turns out that she had a lot of suppressed feelings, and that she did have anorexia, and she hid it really, really well. And the reason why it came bubbling out, and the reason why it affected her at that time so quickly, was because she'd finally found some form of peace, some form of happiness. But still, if you don't deal with your subconscious issues and you don't resolve them in some way, they do rise eventually. And it turns out that the root cause of the illness was that she was abused when she was a child, and she was told that she was fat, and it was quite traumatic. Actually, it was traumatic for all of us. So I'd spent then from 2008 up until about 2018, I took my Swedish ex-wife, now with divorce, to the psychiatric wards, to the treatment centers, and I could just see how she was being treated. It was quite frustrating that they weren't treating the root cause of anorexia. They were totally focused upon what she was eating, how much she was eating, how much did she weigh, and all. It was incredulous because they weren't addressing the fact that she had been abused as a child, which was the number one primary cause of her being ill. And they were still trying to get this person who had such a severe trauma to talk about weight when she'd already had in her mind that she was this fat person, with low self-esteem and so on. And the treatment path extended her recovery time dramatically. As I said, it was between 2008 and 2018. And I just felt as if, I felt that things could be better. Things could be much, much better. It's especially when not many people understand anorexia. And if you get the wrong person giving you the advice on anorexia, it's damaging. It really is damaging. The cause and effect of a psychiatrist. Not all psychiatrists are specialists in every single condition that the mind might have. So my voice is shaking a little bit there because it really was a traumatic time. And so the reason why I'm doing this project is because I want to help people in the right way and provide the understanding and the expertise that they need to have. And I've been fortunate enough so far during the interviews that I have done with people that it's attracting the right people. But
That's awesome. That's awesome. No, I know what you mean. Like, I know when I was younger, like I have a younger sister and she grew up with myself and my other cousin who's also a guy, and she just grew up with a whole bunch of guys. And we used to have this little joke we used to play with her, like she's fat, she's fat, she's fat. But she was never fat, but we just wanted to bug her. Thankfully, there was nothing wrong with her, but I have had to deal with a friend in high school who was anorexic, and she didn't say anything to anybody. Um, we're going to get into a little bit later on, but if you have a little bit more of other leading questions to ask, have you ever felt like quitting?
Ever felt like quitting? Well, first of all, I want to go back to your friend in high school who you never knew had the condition. So the person with anorexia is very, very good at hiding the condition. As I said, I married this woman who I love dearly, and I didn't find out about the condition until after we were married. We were dating before that, and we did go to restaurants, but I noticed her eating habits were a bit not, if there's such a word as normal, they weren't regular eating habits. And she did try to hide the condition quite a bit. So the anorexic will hide the condition. They look as if they're healthy. They look as if they're functioning. They look as if they're part of society, because that's the job, right? That's the role of it, is to hide it so much that other people won't know. But also they're very some anorexics are very introvert because they don't have the energy to get engaged in normal discussions, normal topics. They're so focused in their mind about what's going on in their body, and being able to control the situation. That's so. Sorry, I'm pausing there a little bit because when we talk about control, very often the person with anorexia, the only part of their lives that they can control is their diet, is their nutrition. Everything else might be going to hell. That's because there's so much chaos in their mind. And if you can imagine, you're for those who don't have the condition, and you can think about what you're going to have for lunch and what you're going to have for your evening meal and maybe breakfast or meeting up with some friends at a restaurant. Because there's so much trauma associated with food and so much trauma associated with the condition, it becomes a real challenge for that person to overcome the fear of going to a restaurant and behaving normal, and maybe they're going to eat too much or eat too little, or how do they hide the condition that they have? So your friend at college was probably going through quite a lot in her mind.
Yeah, like I said, like I didn't find out until after, like really after, and I heard from another friend that this person just finished a battle with anorexia, bulimia. I believe that's the one where you throw up after.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, you purge after
absolutely.
you eat, and I was like, really, her? out of all that, I
Yeah.
never, because she was like outgoing, she was outspoken, she was also like involved with everything that everybody was doing, and just to hear that that person was like that, I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
It's all to do with the self-image, self-body image.
So, have you ever felt like quitting?
I tried to avoid that question. Yes, absolutely. Until you've been to a few psychiatric wards where you just know that the treatment is not working, and just giving up, absolutely, because it's you can see this condition affecting somebody who you really care about, and you want them to be okay, you want them to be healed and healthy, be a good mother, all those things. And it did take such a strain on me that I I did end up in hospital myself, because it was just so much stress and so much pressure, because I was a father trying working for an aviation company at the time, transporting my wife to these clinics that she needed to attend, taking the children to school, holding down the job, and eventually I did the job badly, because there was just too much to do, and also looking after the house. So all those things became too much. So yeah, I almost did quit more than once.
Well, I find it admirable that you keep coming back to it, because the one thing that I actually love is the things that the things that are the most important things in our lives are always the hardest.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Do you do you find that this affects more women than men?
No, since starting the project, it affects men and women. I can't say equally, because I haven't read the latest statistics on it, but it even affects young children. There was one of the interviews I did with Dr. Juliana Fino, I think it's video number 3, and she explained that she had a young child who was 10 years old who had been bullied, and she had anorexia. She had really quite a struggle at such a young age. But it does affect men and women these days. Well, it could have affected men
Yeah,
before, but we just didn't have the statistics to back it up.
yeah. I've actually had a conversation with a nurse, and when I actually told her that I was actually going to interview you today, she was like, "Wait a second." And she's like thinking back to her son, and she's like, "Wait a second. There's a problem with my kid,
Right.
and it's a boy, it's not a girl." And there's this whole like uh, I don't want to call it. I don't want to call it the something.
Mm-hmm.
There's this whole stereotype around anorexia that it only affects women. However, it doesn't.
And young girls. So the stereotype
Yeah,
is, young teenage girls. No, it affects quite a larger range than you'd expect. And the older you become, the more difficult it is to get help, because right. So you build your neural pathways, you build your habits, you build your behaviors. And the reason why cognitive behavior therapy works when you're younger is because you're more susceptible to changing your behavior, creating new pathways, new associations. And this is where cognitive behavior therapy is very, very good. But for the how old is the boy?
he's probably a teenager. I didn't really get into too much.
Right. Tell her to reach out to me. Quite happy to talk.
Sure, I will. I'll forward the information off to her.
All right.
So, how does anorexia change the brain to function?
Oh, this is great. This was my pivotal moment for wanting to do this work, because in the first video I had to do was because I was being woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning, starvation on the brain, starvation on the brain. I thought, okay, I'll just write it down and I'll just put it to one side. Starvation on the brain, starvation on the brain. I was being nagged to death, John, nagged about it. So I'm lucky and I'm fortunate to have contact with Max Belpulsi, who is the sports professional sports physiotherapist, right? He does a lot more than just that, but still. And the discussion with Max was that I'm going to approach this from two sides. One is the side with Max, and the other side will be the medical research that I've gone into. So we've talked about control. The anorexic will want to control their nutrition. They want to control their intake. They'll want to try and maintain a type of weight image balance that they think that they're comfortable with. We won't be comfortable with it, but that's what they want. So Max says that the amazing thing about the body is the body wants to survive. It will do everything it can to survive. No matter how badly we're treating our body wants to survive. So what happens is this. The anorexic will try to control the diet. Those neural pathways will be ingrained into the behavior. And then that behavior is then reinforced by the brain to say, oh, okay, well, you want this? Okay, well, I'm going to let you have that. And I'm going to let you build those pathways in your brain. And you're going to be able to maintain your way of wanting to live. That's what it is. So you build that habit. The second one is that when we talk about the medical research on this, to back up what Max was saying, where the body will reinforce your way of doing things, your behaviors and your habits, the clinical researchers have shown that your body, if you starve it, it will strip your body of the resources which is easiest to get, first of all. So in your brain, you have the white matter and the gray matter. The first thing to go in your brain through severe starvation is the white matter. And on my Instagram, what I showed was an MRI scan backing up the research, which shows a patient who has severe starvation, anorexia state, to the healthy, almost recovered state. And you can see that there is brain shrinkage because the white matter is no longer there. And also there's a level of dehydration as well, which also contributes to it. But because your body wants to survive and wants to reinforce what you're doing, you can get into this dangerous cycle where then your body says, well, okay, well, I can't get those nutritions or proteins from anywhere else, but I can get them from inside your body. And your brain is one of the easiest areas for your body to harvest those proteins that it needs. So it's this part alone, I think, is so important, because we just think it's about starvation. Well, you know, what can happen? Actually, it's quite devastating what can happen. And through this level of starvation, and when you lose that harvesting in your body, the major causes of people dying with anorexia, I mean, I think one of the latest studies I read, I need to just verify that, the death rate is 1 in 5. 70 million plus people in the United States suffer from anorexia, and 20% of them die. They die through either suicide or through internal organ failure. The rates of people suffering with this, and that's just the diagnosed people, right? That's only the people who have actually reached out for help. So the numbers are staggering. So worldwide, the numbers are quite huge. And this is why I'm doing this, you know, because it's not just about, oh, you know, don't be silly. Why don't you just eat something? You know, you look a little bit skinny, put on a little bit of weight. No, it's a trauma-driven behavior that affects the way the person thinks, and totally the mortality rates are very, very high, affecting far greater numbers than what we think. I know.
That's a big bombshell. It's seriously a big bombshell. You actually touched up on something that the brain actually changes.
Yes.
Do you think that is this how what you referred to when you were talking about earlier when you were talking about chaos in the mind?
So that chaos in the mind is reinforced because they're trying to control the situation, but then the body will reinforce that behavior because that's what you want to do. And then your body tries to survive in extreme circumstances. I covered a lot of information that I'm really sorry. It's just that, I really want to help people. I want to get out there and help as many as I can. So if I covered too much, please just stop me or make me go back over things.
Don't worry one bit. You just go and you just talk your expertise, because that's why you're here. You're an expert in the field.
Thank you very much.
I want you to share your knowledge.
Thank you.
Are there any natural ways to help people that are suffering from this?
So there's a method that I'm looking into. I have a PowerPoint presentation that can I share something with you if it's possible?
Yeah, let me just see if I can make you a co-host here. Okay, go ahead.
Right, so I just say share screen and pull up the PowerPoint. And let me know if you can see it.
Yep.
All right. So there's so many disciplines involved with the treatment of anorexia. And also I've put something similar to this on my Instagram. The reason why I'm using Instagram is because it's very popular with men, women, and the entire catchment that I'm trying to reach. But there's many disciplines associated with this. And you can see here there's overlapping. So, if we start at the very, very top of this chart, we can see mentoring, counseling, psychology, psychotherapy support. And, you can see here from on the left-hand side, I have the patient treatment path. So first of all, we need to discover the root cause. What is affecting this person, and is this person, are they anorexic? First of all, is the diagnosis an anorexia condition? So if we can discover the root cause, then you need to be able to treat the root cause without, first of all, in my opinion, and from the experience that I've had, and with the amount of specialist clinics that I've been to in Sweden, I noticed that as soon as you start talking about, say, a nutrition plan too early in the root cause phase, that actually has a negative effect. It causes pushback. Which is why considering methods like the hypnotherapy to be able to discover the root cause, put the person into a relaxed state, get them to be able to talk and get them to be able to understand, because most people do understand the root cause of what it is. They just choose to push it down and to ignore it. And then I think that the treatment of the root cause should be next, where you look at the cognitive behavior therapy, which is changing the way that you think, and then introducing the nutrition plan, while at the same time still working through hypnotherapy to make sure that you're preparing that person to be able to accept the treatment that's going to happen. All right, so it's quite complex in the beginning, admittedly. And then I talk about distraction. So distraction is it's one of those psychological terms that in this instance, it really is to take the person to distract their focus from what their focus currently is. Hope that makes sense. Is to take their focus away from their driving force, okay? And the driving force is about controlling nutrition. So if you can bring that person around to thinking about something else, and to be able to do it in a way that's not uncomfortable for them, then this is the path that I think the person suffering from anorexia should consider. So the reason why this graph exists, or this pathway exists, is because it doesn't work like that today. It doesn't work like this at all today. It's very disjointed. So, for example, in Sweden, there was the psychotherapy support in the beginning, but it's not continuous. It's very disjointed. Discovering the root cause actually didn't happen until 3 or 4 years into first being diagnosed with anorexia. So that means that she was going through cognitive behavior therapy and nutrition plans almost as soon as being diagnosed with anorexia. And you can probably see my reasoning there for it being a conflict in it being an effective treatment. So these methods I believe in. And the hypnotherapy methods such as MHE, which is the Milton Erickson form of hypnotherapy. Also, I was very fortunate to have a conversation with Janet Philbin. She is a hypnotherapist based in New York. And she knows about MHE. And I sorry, Janet, if you're listening to this, I will need to just double check and see if this is yours. But I think that Janet is also licensed in hypnotherapy methods, and they're very, very good. They're very, very good in the sense that the hypnotherapy methods are the medical foundations for all hypnotherapy methods. And the reason why I can endorse this is because unless we use the Milton Erickson methods in Sweden, we would never have found the root cause of what was affecting my ex-wife.
Interesting. Generally speaking, what are some of the root causes for anorexia, and just in general?
Peer pressure. It's normally it's you know, that's complex also. So for me the patients that I've met suffering from anorexia had trauma. They all had some personal trauma. And the personal trauma was related to childhood abuse or parental issues, or, sorry, you can hear coughing in the background, I apologize. So it was to do with parental issues or some form of bullying. But then also I've noticed that some people, sorry, I'm still waiting for the cough and stuff. And some people are also affected by just being caught up in their own mind, by being influenced by social media. Social media today, you know, you look at Instagram, you can see these Instagram models, and people want to aspire to be like that person, or they want to be extra muscly, or, you know, and they start equating what they see as this, say, candy image as being somebody that they want to be themselves. And so anorexia is a form of self-punishment, right? It really is a form of self-punishment. One, because they aspire to be something, but then it does turn out as some form of self-retribution for what they're going through.
What would you say to somebody like that that's going through so much torture?
So the person themselves don't listen that much. They do want help. They do want to, so don't get me wrong, they do want help, but it's the families and the friends and their support groups that need to understand how to speak to the person with anorexia, or how to treat them, or how to respect what they're thinking. Because the person with anorexia, depending on how severe the state is, because again, you know, I've seen this firsthand, the they will defend the illness when they're starting to get better. So they will understand that they have something to tackle, to want to get better, but in the end, they will defend the illness as much as they can, because it's afraid of letting go of control.
Sounds very much like depression, because I know, because I've actually suffered from depression. I consistently fight it. I mean, it's no, you never really win depression, beat
No,
depression,
you're
but
right.
it does sound very similar to what I went through 20 some odd years ago.
Right. Sorry to hear that. With high anxiety, right?
I would, yes, 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 and I'm not sorry.
Right. Okay.
It's one of those things that's like, you know what, when I was in the thick of it, I hated it, but
Mhm.
now looking back, I would not have been the person I am today without it.
So your way of thinking and the way that you want to progress and use that as a life's lesson, that's amazingly strong. And it's so you owned the situation, you understood it, and you knew that things had to get better. And
Yes.
and then you're right, because with the person with anorexia, um, with all the best treatment in the world, unless that person with the anorexia nervosa wants to get better, then they won't get better. They have to want it. They
Yeah.
have to take ownership of it.
You talked earlier about hypnotherapy. Now, I've never been hypnotized, and I kind of have a little bit of fear being hypnotized, because it's kind of like allowing my self control into somebody else's hands, and I don't want to be barking like a dog when somebody rings the doorbell.
No, it's not like that. I promise you, it's not like that. No, it's so the point of hypnotherapy is like we just talked about, being depressed and anxious, and the anxiety being very high, and also in the mind of the anorexic person, they'll have a lot going on inside their mind. So the hypnotherapy is to calm the mind and to be able to talk to the real person. Because if anybody is stressed, or if anybody is highly anxious, you're not going to talk to the real person. You're not going to get to understand who is the real Martin, or who is the real John, because there are things that maybe you suppress, and you just don't want to say those things. Because I guess, well, not I guess, but truthfully so, I mean, if anybody had been abused as a child, being able to say that in public is very hard. It's something you probably you know it's not something you want to talk about, because you don't want to believe that's you. You don't want to believe it's happened to you.
Yeah, I know that feeling. It's exactly like depression.
Yeah.
It's exactly like depression. Uh, what are your thoughts on breath work and cold showers when it comes to this?
Um, so the breath work is important, but so right, okay. So this is again, I'm very, very conscious, because I know that other people will see this. So an anorexia person will gulp air to make it look as if they have a distended stomach, a full stomach. They'll also drink a lot of water instead of taking proper nutrition. And these are little tricks that are done before visiting their counselor or the psychotherapist, because they want to appear as if they're getting better. So these are games, right? And I know I've seen them, and I've seen them acted out. And that's not just from my ex-wife. I've seen it with other. I've gone to awards with anorexia patients, and I can see the games that they play. But for the cold showers, like if we're talking about the Wim Hof style, yeah, I mean, for just normal people, well, normal, that's really wrong for me to say actually, but for people who don't have a phobia for eating or something like that, I mean, I'm 8 minutes away from the coast. I take a good walk. It's freezing outside, but still I do my breath work. And cold showers, I don't know just yet because it is just a bit too cold. But I think, but in Sweden, what we used to do, we used to go into the sauna, jump into a freezing cold lake, go back in the sauna, jump in the freezing cold lake, and it does make you feel like you're alive.
Oh yeah. The only reason why I'm asking you the breath work is I've recently, since the beginning of this year, I've actually started experimenting with transformational breath work,
Okay.
where it's guided by an expert,
Yes.
and it takes you to some deep places that you thought that you were healed,
Yeah.
and it just brings it right to the forefront. So that's why I wanted to get your thoughts on the. Have you ever heard of the transformational breath work?
No, I haven't, but I'm willing to research it to see where it can fit in.
Fair enough. And the cold showers I started this week, and as much as I
Fantastic.
hate them, you feel alive when you come out of there.
Yeah, I mean, because there's like even though I'm suggesting hypnotherapy here, and you also mentioned your fear that you don't want to be running around like a chicken, and I think it's quite okay maybe to replace certain like hypnotherapy methods with breath work, and or maybe to complement it in some way. So, and anything that will take that person's state and bring them into a way that they're willing to accept that there is a chance for them to get better.
Another reason why is because of the point you just brought up. It's because you said earlier, um, the person suffering from anorexia nervosa has this thing in their head that the only thing that they can control is their diet.
Yes.
It sounds to me like they have control issues. So to put somebody, would you to put somebody in like a hypnotic state where they're going to lose control over themselves?
I understand.
You know,
So I, I get it. So how is it possible to hypnotize somebody
yeah.
who is so deeply in there? Right. So this is the good thing about the Milton Erickson method, is that you you are brought into this level state. You can be brought into this level state no matter how chaotic your mind is. It's very effective. It's very effective. So it's which is why I only say this particular method and not other licensed methods that you can see on, I don't know, Facebook. You can become a hypnotherapist for $29, something like that. I mean, the true hypnotherapy manuals and the books, they're hundreds of dollars. They're hundreds of dollars. So it's and you need to be professionally licensed for it as well. Yeah. So yeah, it's a good question.
Um, Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to sum up on that one, just to say that it is possible to use this form of hypnotherapy to bring a person into a frame of mind where they're willing to share what their problem was, and to allow them to understand that, okay, well, that was the problem, but now we can um, look at the future, take you from where you are right now and help you
Is
with treatment.
is there because this is such a neurological issue? Like this is really like this happens in the brain. So the people that have anorexia nervosa is a neurological issue. They have problems somewhere that's in their past, and they're still holding on to it. Do you know of any foods that they can, try to implement in their um, diet, maybe to help them feel better?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's totally individual, which is where you'd bring in the nutrition plan for that person. But the one deficiency that they all have in common is that the lack of vitamin D. They have a lack of vitamin D. So normally it would be a vitamin D drops or a high vitamin D type diet. And if you live in an area which is dark, then you don't get a chance to get it quite naturally. But that's one of the deficiencies. It's a common deficiency with people with anorexia. But as for the other dietary requirements, so I follow quite a few people on Instagram who are recovering from anorexia, and you'll notice that if you look at those who are posting their posts, it's filled with what they've made that day, because they want to show you that they're recovering from anorexia, and the foods are highly fatty foods, luxurious desserts. Some of them are just over the top because they're trying to show you that they're okay and it's not a problem. But as soon as you start looking at the feed, the Instagram feed, you know that there's something else being said apart from all those meals that's being cooked. And it is because they're trying to recover. So as far as the nutrition is concerned, it is individual. I was searching for some way to say that there is a specific food that they should consider, but the vitamin D deficiency is the biggest one, and also calcium in the bones.
I know it's a bit contrary to say what food should an anorexic be eating when it's an eating disorder, but there are foods out there that actually do make you feel better just by looking at it, smelling it.
Comfort foods.
And comfort foods, yes.
Yeah. For me, it's tomato soup.
Nothing wrong with a good tomato soup.
Exactly.
What about physical exercise? Would light physical exercise, because this is coming from a personal trainer, and I would not ever train a person who is suffering from anorexia, because it's extremely dangerous to be doing so. But is there any physical exercise that you could tell people to do so they can make, because it does actually stimulate a lot of norepinephrine and serotonin that's going on in the brain to make you feel better.
So, right. Can I answer that by my experiences with a couple of different types of people who've had anorexia?
Absolutely.
So I've met the people who suffer from anorexia, and they can run half marathons, and they're totally addicted to exercise. And what they will do is they'll have, they'll do their routine, which is maybe something to get them to have breakfast up and running, some energy, and then they will do their run. And it really is a full-on exercise. And then after the run, it may be something to eat and something small again, but then that will be followed up by a good afternoon walk. It's this constant need to maintain the body image. The other people who have anorexia, I've noticed that those are people who are tired all the time because they just simply have no energy. And they're cold because they have no body heat, right? And the blood flow is really bad because they need to wrap themselves up warm. They need to feel cozy, which is why they wear the big jumpers. big floppy clothes so that it hides their condition, and they have no energy to engage in normal family lives, or even to function normally as an adult. So those are the two sides. And it's surprising, isn't it? You know, if you don't have any energy, then how can you do a half marathon, or how can you go for a 10-kilometer run? But it happens because the even though in the mind of the anorexia person that it's chaos, there is one thing that they have all in common, and it's strength and it's focus. And the strength and the focus is to maintain that body image that they're trying to maintain. So it's chaos, but that's what they do.
Interesting. What about martial arts? Because martial arts has such a powerful influence when you can get the esoteric aspect and the physical aspect combined.
Sure. It would be good if we could introduce something like that. And I'm not saying that there aren't any anorexics out there who don't practice martial arts. I'm sure there must be. But it's not it's not one of those key exercises I've got an experience of discussing with people. But for sure, I mean, I can see what you mean. What you mean by bringing in an aspect of another form of discipline, because within martial arts you must be disciplined. You'll have your focus. It's a good idea.
Only reason why I'm bringing up exercise and martial arts is because those are the two things that actually got me out of depression.
Right.
So,
Gotcha.
and I wasn't sure if you knew of anything on the anorexic side. So,
No, I don't, unfortunately. But it's. Can I make a note? Do you mind if I just
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Because that's very interesting. Okay, I've done that. Thank you, John.
No problem. Um, you know, all these kinds of psychological, I don't want to call them diseases, but imprints that we have on ourselves, they have a very huge influence with the people surrounding us.
Yes.
And you're living example of something like that. Like when I was going through my bad times, I could see that my parents were suffering because of it. My sister was suffering because of it, and my friends completely cut me off. Do you work with the family members that are being affected by this?
Yes. It's the primary cause for me creating this project. It's the primary cause because you've summed it up perfectly, because within the treatment of anorexia, the anorexic needs the support of families. But the problem is, well, okay, so that's dependent upon the good relationship that the person with anorexia may have with the family. But still, if you don't have a good family, then you need the support of your friends. You can't manage anorexia by yourself. That really is a tough hill to climb. So it disrupts family patterns. The reason is that family members don't understand it, and it's because it makes them feel helpless. Helpless is the way that I felt. You know, I could see this person who I loved dearly and I cared about more than anything in the world, and I can see them just hurting themselves, and it just didn't make sense to me, and I didn't know what to do to help them. And the information that I had at the time was just awful. It might have been written back in the 1990s or 1980s or something like that, but it wasn't up to date, I know. And so with the person with anorexia closing themselves off because they want to hide and protect what they're doing, it does cause this distance and this rift in the family. And can you imagine it? You know, the person who is suffering from this can't explain why they are why they are like they are, and still the family are still getting frustrated, upset, and just helpless. Again, helpless, not understanding what's going on with this person that they love.
What are some of the tools that you use with them?
So with families, the first tool is information. I'm using my website, and I'm using Instagram and discussions like this. So this is why I'm just so happy to be with you. Honestly, this is just fantastic. To provide information, to help those families be better informed, And what I'm giving is for free, They can go onto the YouTube channel and listen to some discussions. Admittedly, I'm new to the interviewing technique, so if anybody has any feedback on the way I interview, don't worry about it. I'll get better. But the information's free, and if there is a one-to-one consultancy or session, and I know consultancy sounds like the wrong word, but if there is a period of treatment that somebody wants to approach me on, then just send me a message, and then we'll see what we can do. And then if it becomes a long treatment session, then some sessions are free, some sessions are as little as $50. And this is also another reason why I'm doing this. For those families out there, if you take a look at the cost of treating somebody with anorexia, it's a lot. We're talking thousands of dollars, lots. And this stops the person from getting access to the help that they need. And what I'm offering is a support service where people can just reach out to me and get information. They might just want a 30-minute discussion. We can take a 30-minute discussion. They might want a couple of hours to be able to understand the craziness that's going on, that's disrupting their family lives. It's quite a. I'm not using the word craziness there in a disrespectful way. It's just that for the families who are experiencing this for the first time, they don't understand what's going on, and there must be some. They must be helped in some way to give the person who they love the support that they need.
So is there like a community that you actually share with these people in order for them to be a part of, like a support group or something?
I'm building it. So the website exists, the Instagram exists, and people can contact me directly off the website. I think I've put up the telephone number recently. It's a UK number, by the way. Sorry about that. But if you don't want to call me on the UK number, then just log the request through the website, and I promise I'll get back to you.
We'll put all your links with the show notes so everybody has access, free access to you, and to be able to contact you.
Absolutely.
So, let's get into the mind of the patients now.
Yes.
Let's switch gears a little bit.
Right.
What are some of the things that you've come across with, diving deep into interviewing some of these patients?
It's yeah, sorry, I'm just pausing because it just stirs up a lot of old memories, right?
Absolutely.
So in the mind of the anorexic person, they just simply want to live what in their normality, and their normality is being able to maintain that body image by controlling their nutrition to the point where the nutrition the starvation really hurts them. They can destroy the lining of the stomach. All the digestive enzymes will no longer be there because they've just done so much to damage themselves. So the mind of an anorexic person is that they're willing to go through pain to maintain their body image. They're willing to go to the hospital wards. They're willing for their heart to have irregular beats. They're willing to have the body to strip itself of some of its resources because they want to. they want to stick to their cause. And admittedly, we have scales of severity, where one person may not be as severe as the other, but I can promise you in the most severe cases, it's even the discussions are not a good discussion. They're not like you and I talking right now, and that's how the state is so bad. And it is chaos because they are dealing with trauma, and for some of them who haven't had the trauma treated, as in understanding the root cause, that stays with them, and then that is a permanent reminder of how much they must keep punishing themselves, because it is punishing. The one thing that they do know is that they are punishing themselves.
So it's something like on the lines of pain is weakness leaving the body.
I would say pain is a reinforcement that they believe that they're doing the right thing.
That's even worse.
Yeah, which is why the mortality rates are so high.
Wow. Like as a personal trainer, like I said before, like you hear all these trainers out there and they're talking, pain is weakness leaving the body. If you're not in pain, you're not growing, and this and that. And it's like, oh, this is all nonsense. If you have pain, that means something is physically wrong with your body. That's your body telling your brain there's something wrong with me.
Yes, correct, exactly. But and that's when I talk about the normal people, because that's when we're hungry, we get this feeling in our tummy. We have to eat something. When we're thirsty, we want to drink water. That's not for the anorexic. And again, it's depending on the severity of the scale. They could have very light anorexia, which is very easy to treat, or they could be deeply ingrained into the condition, where they've just hidden themselves away for so long. And those people are quite clear, because quite often their family and their friends have given up, so they're on their own, and I think that's just heartbreaking, actually.
That's devastating. That's
It
not
is.
heartbreaking. That's devastating.
Yeah.
The importance of having support from your friends, especially your family, is it's so crucial, so critical that
Yes, I agree.
when they give up, oh man, I'm glad my parents never gave up on me, and that's a little bit selfish to say, but
No, it's not. It's not, because a person needs that, right? It doesn't matter what we're going to do in this world. You still need to have like your social aspect. I mean, we are social animals after all.
yeah. Have you ever seen somebody go from anorexic to obese?
No, I've seen some people go from anorexia to functioning.
Okay, that's even better.
Yeah, to functioning, but not the other way around.
Okay.
But I did do an interview with Natalie, and I will be publishing her video this week. And I was so happy, actually, because she's a great example of somebody who has had trauma, has had a trial to overcome in her own life, and also showing how she has blossomed, into this adult who has a fantastic life and a wonderful daughter. And it is possible. It is possible. I don't think anorexia ever totally leaves you, because of those, as I said before, those neural patterns, those habits. But still, it is possible to get better, or to a point of functioning anyway.
That's good. That's very good. We're going to be wrapping up the show very shortly. Okay, so I'm going to be asking you the same questions that I ask all my guests. There's 6 or 7 questions.
All right.
Just to get your insight on everything.
Sure. Happy to do that.
Awesome. So with the increase in people suffering from depression from the lockdowns, what would be the one thing that you could tell them to keep their hopes up? And this could actually be for anorexics as well.
So what we have in our minds, I think that we can always find a way to find some joy and to find some way to find some fun. And I know I'm doing this anorexia project, which is, but my way of being able to cope with such a deep area is to find my fun. People just need to, no matter what it is. I mean, you find some joy in what you're doing. Not stop listening to the news as well. Just stop listening to the news. Stop listening to the news. Think of something. Think of anything that you did when you were a child. Think of something that just makes you excited. Think of something that makes you a bit passionate, Think of something that you did not so long ago, even if you're in the middle of your despair. And maybe somebody made you laugh. Maybe somebody told you a fantastic joke. Maybe there was that fantastic goal that you scored. Maybe there was that fantastic little, fun you had with your friends. Use that. My advice is to try and find some joy. Find something that'll make you laugh.
Awesome. Where do you see your practice in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, well, my target for the end of this year is to be, hopefully, well, actually, that's not the right word, is it? My target for the end of this year is at least 1,000 patients. That's what I want. And to be able to improve the lives of those people, of the patients, and also those surrounding the patients. So 5 years from now, I want to have the online clinics. And with all this lockdown disappearing, which is what I'm quite optimistic about, to have my clinics in the accessible online, but also physical buildings, North America, UK, France and Sweden to start with, and then think about where we can go after that. And to have at least to increase, the number of patients dramatically, because I think that's also the problem, because these anorexic clinics exist, but they can only take in 20 or maybe 12 patients at one time. And I've just given you the figures of 70 million plus in the US. So where do those other people go to? So my goal is to expand, help as many as possible.
Good. What about you personally? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
5 years. Do you know Vancouver has been calling to me?
Really?
Vancouver, I know. Vancouver has been calling to me. I really fancy that. I want to achieve my my childhood ambition of learning to fly an airplane. And, giving my children a fantastic life.
Awesome. I'm not knocking Vancouver. I'm actually in Toronto. Vancouver is beautiful.
Yeah.
I've had enough of North America. It's time for me to go over the pond.
East Coast versus West Coast, right? But it's but I think, right. Okay. So my ideally, it would be a place in Vancouver, and then one in Rome, and then one in like Deer, Wales, and one in Bath.
Nice.
That's what I would like, but I probably won't do that because I'll be too busy serving people.
Well, you'd be surprised at how many people you could serve in Vancouver, because Vancouver is, or here in Canada, just alone. I mean, the numbers are. The funny thing here in Canada is that the numbers, they're not reflective of how many patients are actually getting the help that they need.
Right. Okay.
Because of the self-doubt and the that I'm okay, that I don't need to go see a doctor. I don't need to go check myself into anywhere because I'm okay still.
Yes. Yeah.
That's another thing that I noticed with these kinds of diseases is that, like we talked earlier, it's really based off of the patient wanting to, and I use the term loosely, patient. It's not patient, the person wanting to get the help.
Yes. That's the big factor.
If you could pick up the phone right now and call yourself at 20 years old, what would you tell yourself?
Stop being so stupid. It's the truth.
I love it. That's a great answer.
Yeah. It's true though.
That's awesome. Looking back, would you change anything?
No. No, I adore my children. I think you and I spoke earlier when we talked about the depression and how you learned from that and it made you who you are. You know, you grew from it. And if I hadn't have gone through the anorexia experience, I wouldn't be setting up this project to help others.
Awesome.
So I don't regret anything.
Perfect. I love that answer. I absolutely adore that answer. Like all the guests that say that, it's like, yeah, you guys get it.
Thank you, John.
What keeps you up at night?
Things I haven't done, things I haven't done. But the main thing that keeps me up at night is where to find other people who can help me with this project. You know, because I want it to be an extensive service. So I need other hypnotherapists. I need psychotherapists. I need cognitive behavior therapists, and I haven't, you know, and I want them in those areas where around the globe where I need them to be, because I truly have this vision for this being a 24-hour contact service, you know.
That's awesome.
And I need that. Or nutritionists as well. Sorry, I keep forgetting the nutritionists, but it's who I need. I need these people on board.
You'll get them. You'll have no doubt about that. You will get them.
Thank you.
Where can people find more about you?
So I have the Anorexic Healer website, and also on Instagram I have the Anorexic Healer at Insta label. Facebook is not set up yet, but for sure, if people want to reach out to me, fill out the online form if you don't want to cover the cost of calling the UK, and I promise I'll get back to you.
Awesome. And again, I will be posting for everybody out there listening all Martin's links with the show notes. So if you are suffering from this this tragic disease, please reach out to him. I know he can help you. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts? Don't give up. You really have to understand that there is a possibility for you to live a fantastic life, and you just need to make the decision and take the first step.
Awesome. Martin, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much for everything that you do. This is a topic that a lot of people will not cover because of especially for men, it's not considered a man's disease, a quote unquote man's disease, it's considered a young woman's disease. So for you to be coming out here and reaching out like this to be helping everybody is, I mean, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate you for that.
Thank you so much. And it's been great. Admittedly, my heart was racing 300 beats a minute before I came onto the show, but your interviewing style helped me to say what I needed to say, and in a good way, I hope. In a good way.
Good. Thank you. Thank you again so much.
Cheers.
Going through hard times is just a test. What you need to know is that when you get out of whatever you're going through, you will be stronger than ever before, and you don't need to go through it alone. Always know that you are not alone. Stay tuned for more real people with amazing stories that are just like yours. Until then, to everyone out there listening, I wish you a good morning, good afternoon, or a good night wherever you may be in this crazy world.